Hi, this is the Teaserking. I just want to talk about certain upcoming games for this weekend, December 4th, 5th, and 6th, in both the college and pros, especially the BCS games, where we have several title games going on, as well as teams that need to win to make a BCS game, such as in the Big East, and also the big, all the other conference championship games. First game is Oklahoma, Nebraska. You got Oklahoma weighing 4.5. Normally, I love the dog in this game. I would love Nebraska. My only hesitant is the fact that Taylor Martinez is out, or very doubtful with his ankle. So you have a very defensive-oriented team against Oklahoma, who's more offense. Oklahoma's been terrible on the road this year. So they did get the win against Oak State, but they were a dog in the game. So as a road dog, they were good. As a road favorite, they've been terrible. The trends favor Nebraska slightly. Again, I've got to. This is where you have to use your substance. The play would be easily Nebraska if Martinez plays, but with this injury, this is where you kind of watch the game. As much as I like to take Nebraska, without Martinez, they're not going to generate a lot of offense. And I think Oklahoma is balanced enough to win the game, but I don't think they'll blow them out. But I'd feel a lot better with the defense. So here's my point when I do make picks, and I say, well, the trends are this, but I'm not superficial just to look at the trend and go, wow, that's the bet. Here's where a perfect example of a game I can't pick. Without Martinez, I can't take Nebraska. I should take Oklahoma then, but I like playing the defense over the offense in these playoff type of games. So my play would be Nebraska if you feel they'll score enough points against Oklahoma. At this point, I'm not going to play the game. That's the reason why, just so you understand my method of picking games. In the other game, I like, in a critical game, we have Auburn against South Carolina, and Auburn's laying 5.5. This is another game where I like Auburn to win. I like South Carolina to cover. I haven't decided who I'm taking at this point. I think I'm leaning towards South Carolina and 11.5. The way they won at Florida and got the monkey off their back, and the way they beat Alabama, and the way they're playing now, and they killed Clemson, I'm leaning for South Carolina plus 11 points. Auburn just played Alabama in a very emotional game and squeaked it out. But the fact they got down so much to Alabama shows they can be scored on. They're a very good offensive team, but the better defense here is South Carolina. So I would look at South Carolina plus the points. One game I absolutely love, and it really doesn't mean anything, is Boise State laying 38 to Utah State. I know Utah State's looked good at times. Against Nevada, they looked really good. Against BYU, they looked really good when BYU was having their problems. But here, Boise State will be furious after the way they lost the game, that they should have won. Guy missing a field goal. Boise will put up a 70 on this. They'll be really out for blood. Utah State's defense cannot. Boise will score it well against Utah State. Utah State has a nice offense. Might get 14, 21 points, but you're looking at a 70 to 21, maybe 21 game. Boise will kill them. That you can take to the bank. Take Boise in that one. Another game I like is the Pitt playing Cincinnati game. Cincinnati's favored by 2. The winner of the Big East will probably be Connecticut. Pitt needs to win and has West Virginia and Connecticut to lose, and I don't see that happening. West Virginia's got Rutgers, and Rutgers is terrible this year for whatever reason. I think quarterback play. And without B.J. Janos at South Florida, I look for UConn to win that game, provided Jordan Todman plays. He's banged up, so I'm waiting for tomorrow to see if Jordan Tomlin plays. If he plays, I'll take Connecticut plus the 8 in that game, especially with B.J. Daniels out for South Florida. One note that I have for college. I played Arizona yesterday against Arizona State. Thank God the spread went down, so we ended up getting a win. Where, I normally take the dogs in rivalry games, and the reason I took the favorite was because Arizona quarterback Stephen Threet, the guy from Michigan who went there, got hurt, and he wasn't playing. So part of the reason was Arizona's good at home, and part of the reason is they didn't have their quarterback. And for whatever reason in college, it doesn't make that big of a difference as you would think on most teams. Look at Notre Dame. They started a freshman. They go beat USC. USC is the one exception where their Barkley's out. Mustang, who's a very highly recruited quarterback, doesn't play well. But normally, what you have is the backup quarterback in college seems to be better than you think, or the loss of the quarterback isn't as hurtful as it is maybe in the pro game, where the backup is for some reason terrible in a lot of teams. So generally you got to look out for the injury. So even though South Florida doesn't have B.J. Daniels and Nebraska doesn't have Martinez, you still have the backups. Although Nebraska's also missing Zach Lee, they have a third stringer in there. That's going to be tough for Nebraska, where South Florida might surprise with their backup. Another key game is Florida State, Virginia Tech. Virginia Tech's laying 4. Normally I like the dog in this game, but here, again, I'm taking Virginia Tech because I like the fact that they're a very good favorite. They're very good against the spread. They're 10-0 against the spread this year. Even though they lost to Boise, they were getting points and they covered. And James Madison, they weren't on the board for. Every game else they've won. They handled Miami at Miami. They're the better team here against Florida State. They will win the game, and you're getting 2 points in the teaser. That's how I look at the BCS. Normally, it's the dogs. Normally, I would play Nebraska if everybody was healthy, getting the points. I would play South Carolina getting the points. Another game to note is Oregon at Oregon State. Oregon's laying 16.5. Normally, I would take Oregon State in 22.5 and not even bat an eye, and they'd win the game. Not this year. With the loss of James Rodgers and the way they've been playing, it's hard to figure them out. Where you lose to Washington State and then you shut out USC. So it's very, very difficult. A lot of it is turnovers. Oregon does not turn the ball over. And Oregon can score. And they have the chance to be number 1. And as well as they handled Stanford, and I know they played kind of weak at Cal, but I don't see Oregon State doing what Cal did. And I just look for Oregon. I look for Oregon to have a nice, comfortable 20, 30-point win here. This is for all the marbles. I don't like Oregon State's quarterback that much. He's too young. I like him, but he's just, it's his first big game here against, not his first big game, but his first game against Oregon. Normally, Oregon State's a very good home dog, and I would normally take them, but because Oregon's number 1 and going for the title, they'll pour it on, and they're just too explosive in this situation. I normally would call for the Oregon State upset, but I can't here. I just don't think they have enough horses. A game I love is Hawaii at home against UNLV. Hawaii's like 35-point favorites in the game. They'll have that covered before half. Hawaii's a very explosive team, and UNLV is not. When they go on the road, they've been blown out by everybody, and even their wins, they barely beat New Mexico State and Wyoming. They're a very weak team, and Hawaii's a team that will run it up. So I look for Hawaii to be in the 60s. I don't see Vegas getting a whole lot of points. That's another game that's huge. Now here's a game. Nevada's at Louisiana Tech, laying about 7.5, 8 right now. Normally I'd be all over Nevada in this game. Problem I have is they just beat Boise. How are they going to react? Are they going to be flat because of the big win, or are they going to? Is the momentum going to be there? And I really don't know what to say. Louisiana Tech's not that bad of a team, and Nevada's they've got to be a little flat. They have a great quarterback. They have a great running back. They do not have a great defense. Although they came up big last week against Boise. So I'm not sure what to do with that game. And lesson learned when I took Utah over Notre Dame after they played TCU, and they were flatter than flat in that game. So I got to be careful when you get a big upset. Normally that's a problem, and that's what happened. Like Alabama went to South Carolina. Were they flat, or was South Carolina just that much better? I don't know, but that's my point there. So I just look at teams, after a big win, you got to be careful with them. So I'm going to not play Nevada this week. They might be flat after the Boise. I mean, it's a risk that why take it? Doesn't mean I'm going to jump on Louisiana Tech. Maybe I should, but you just don't know if they're going to be flat or not. Trying to think of any other games, but the Big East is just, who knows? They're very inconsistent. The ACC is very, very inconsistent. You don't know what's going to happen there. The only solid is Virginia Tech in the ACC. And in the Big East, there is no solid. Pittsburgh was the best team versus the spread, but they got killed by West Virginia last week, and I don't know. So I like Pittsburgh this week because they got, for two reasons. One, they got killed by West Virginia, so they'll be fired up. And two, they owe Cincinnati, which cost them the BCS last year when they were down by like 25, 30 points, and with Brian Kelly, and they came all the way back and won at the end, like 44-43, something like that. So I look at a huge revenge, and after a big loss, I look for Pittsburgh to play their game, and they will cover, and they're getting points and getting 8. Cincinnati's not that good. They're better at home, but they're not that strong as they were with Brian Kelly. So those are my picks for this week and my analysis of the game. That's my reasoning. A lot of the games, the defense will beat the offense. Nebraska, Oklahoma. Oklahoma's not going to rout them because of Nebraska's defense. So you try to play the best defenses over the best offenses normally. That's why we played Boise over Nevada last week, was Boise's defense, basically. And I was shocked Boise didn't score in the second half. That was very surprising. But that's the nature of the games, or you play the defense, because they'll show up, they can shut down the offense, and the offense can't do anything. Anyway, this is Teaserking with some college analysis for this week and the BCS, and I wish you luck, and go to www.teaserking.com. Please check my trends. I try to post trends which shows like how the teams are doing, who to bet on and who to bet against. When I say play and play against, what I mean is, let's look at Auburn laying 5 to South Carolina. If you play Auburn, you take Auburn +1. If you play against them, you take South Carolina +11. So the trends are basically showing you, hey, I'm going to go against this team, or I'm going to take the team. That's the point of the teaser. You can go either way with them. And generally, the weaker teams you bet against, and the better teams you play. That's been the theory, and that's been very, very good for me over all these years of why I am so successful. I finally figured out the pros. Last week I was 8-1, and the game I lost was Monday night with Arizona, and they were 9-0 as a home dog, and they were very good against Frisco. So it was a surprise. I thought Derek Anderson was a little bit better. I don't think he's that bad. The play calling was terrible in the game. So that's what I look at. Another thing you got to be careful of is how good a team looks versus one team doesn't mean how good they are versus another. Anyway, this is the Teaserking. The time's running out. I only get 15 minutes. Have a great